Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you for joining me. This commentary is pertaining to a former teacher charged with child rape. Claims she's pregnant. Has bond revoked. Very diabolical story coming out of Tennessee. Covington, Tennessee. Fox 13 Memphis is the source. Thank you for joining me.
This alleged conversation happened last Tuesday.
5:30, all new for you. A bond revoked for a former Mid-South teacher accused of raping a child.
Alissa Mccommon, who taught fourth grade, faces several other charges as well. Fox 13 Sheila O'Connor was the only reporter in the courtroom and breaks down what happened today. Sheila?
Alissa Mccommon's hearing Tuesday morning centered around a series of text messages and a phone call prosecutors say Mccommon had with the victim.
I have to tell you something that is serious and huge that has to do with you.
A Covington police detective testified this alleged conversation happened last Tuesday. The detective testified Mccommon eventually identified herself and told the victim she was pregnant.
It was a mistake. This is my burden. OMG, delete this number. Please don't get me in trouble.
After that initial text exchange, the detective testified the victim and their parent went to police. In a controlled setup, the detective said Mccommon and the victim talked on the phone. A recording played in court allowed the judge to hear the conversation presumed to be between Mccommon and the victim. Mccommon sounded frantic and scared.
I'm just really scared. I don't even know if it's you or not. I'm going to look into it again. You want other information? Just please don't say anything.
Mccommon also brought up her apparent pregnancy.
I'm going to rape this lady. I can do this.
At the end, the judge felt there was enough evidence to revoke Mccommon's bond.
I think it sends the right message about protecting victims and their family and not allowing continuing criminal conduct.
The judge also ordered a mental health evaluation.
I think anyone that's in her position with this much attention on her, dealing with this kind of stress, is going to struggle.
Mccommon is due back in court November 27th. In Tipton County, Sheila.
Let's go back and hear that information
A
again.
series of text messages and a phone call prosecutors say Mccommon had with the victim.
I have to tell you something that is serious and huge that has to do with you.
A Covington police detective testified this alleged conversation happened last Tuesday. The detective testified Mccommon eventually identified herself and told the victim she was pregnant.
It was a mistake. This is my burden. OMG, delete this number. Please don't get me in trouble.
After that initial text exchange, the detective testified the victim and their parent went to police. In a controlled setup, the detective said Mccommon and the victim talked on the phone. A recording played in court allowed the judge to hear the conversation presumed to be between Mccommon and the victim. Mccommon sounded frantic and scared.
I'm just really scared. I don't even know if it's you or not. I'm going to look into it again. You want other information? Just please don't say anything.
Mccommon also brought up her apparent pregnancy.
I'm going to rape this lady. I can do this.
At the end, the judge felt there was enough evidence to revoke Mccommon's bond.
I think it sends the right message about protecting victims and their family and not allowing continuing criminal conduct.
The judge also ordered a mental health evaluation.
I think anyone that's in her position with this much attention on her, dealing with this kind of stress, is going to struggle.
Mccommon is due back in court November 27th. In Tipton County, Sheila O'Connor, Fox 13 News.
On top of being charged with rape of a child, Mccommon has also been charged with coercion of a witness, tampering with evidence, aggravated stalking, and harassment.
Fox 13 Memphis is the source. A lot of charges there, extra. Besides assaulting a child, she knows better. She knew what she was doing. Let's read what the people have to say in the comment section of the said information. The Queen is the top commenter. A dirty hen. Then I'd ask you to follow the Queen on the Vault Excel. This is horrible. Protect our children. They're not safe anywhere anymore. Midwest Girl says, what the F? She walked into the courtroom looking all confused. like she don't know where she's at or what's going on. Don't pull the crazy card now. She knew exactly what she was doing. Evil, disgusting, perverted thing. So Moody says, what's with the walking and moving, looking around like she don't know where or who she is? Lady, give me a break. Evil. Before that, what the F? Just pure evil, sick individual. Some individuals should never see freedom again. Another person, sick freak, she'll get a Lifetime movie. She's the worst. I can't believe you just hurt one of your students and got yourself pregnant. If this baby's father is from a student, he blank forget it, and she's going to lose this baby because she's become a criminal. Then somebody else says he will be hit with child support when he turns 18. Very interesting. Imagine that. Then somebody says, I wonder who the father is. And then somebody else says, and after 18 years, found out it wasn't his. Kanye. Okay, you're not getting stupid now. And then somebody else is bringing up political stuff or transgender stuff. I ain't trying to hear all about that. This is a baffling story, but it goes on a lot with male perpetrators and female victims. But as of late, we've been hearing of a lot of young women sexually assaulting young boys in the schoolhouse. Why, I do not know. But it just shows you that sickness is real. It doesn't matter the sex of the human being, that there are very ill people out here. The part that baffles me the most is that she is, one, a mother, and she's also married. She has 2 girl children. So what I have to ask myself, as I brought you content last week, where were her children when she was dating this young boy? And I do believe there are other children. Authorities believe there are other boy children that she has messaged and sent photos and played video games with. It's how it started. That's probably the ruse she sets up. Hey, let's play a game with each other, reaches out to them on social media, and then one thing begets another. It's called grooming, basically. And obviously, I don't think this one boy is no more special than any other child, because people are going to ask that, of course. Why this kid? The point is, why a kid at all? She's an adult. She has no business being fascinated, attracted to anybody's child, number one. Number two, she ain't picky about which boy it is, because there are possibly other boys that she has messaged. She's just sick. She obviously didn't have a childhood. That's obvious. Let's read more content pertaining to Miss Mccommon. I think it's interesting that perhaps she's not with a husband, because I get a feeling that there's something going on in her marriage. And I don't know if it's something that happened before these allegations or not, but there's something very, very off as far as her marital status. Is she currently married? If so, does the husband still live in the house with she and the children? Are they together, or is she going through a divorce? Separation? What is going on with she and the husband? Because I've got a funky feeling that there is something not quite right with she and the husband. Hello, Scholar. Thank you for joining me. A Tennessee elementary school teacher accused of raping a boy when he was 12 years old implied in a phone call played in open court that she is pregnant with his child, according to reports. I'm going to raise this baby. I can do this. Alissa Mccommon, a 4th grade teacher, can be heard saying in an alleged phone call with the victim. A recording of the call was played aloud in the Tipton County courtroom on Tuesday. Mccommon, 38, of Covington, Tennessee, is accused of sexually assaulting a boy while he was spending the night at her home in 2021. The boy was 12 at the time. Mccommon was arrested on September 8th and charged with rape. She was arrested on September 28th and charged with coercion, harassing, and stalking the boy. She has been released on a $250,000 bond, but her bond was revoked after Mccommon allegedly attacked the boy. The actions of Mccommon are not only appalling, but CPD is also concerned about this apparent violation of her bond conditions, Covington Police Chief Donna Turner said in a September 28 statement. Prosecutors played the call in open court almost a week after Covington police said Mccommon violated the terms of her bond from a child rape charge after texting the victim. "I will never text you again," Mccommon allegedly said during the phone call. "You will never hear from me again. Just please don't say anything. I'm under so much stress and I'm so scared all the time. I tried to tell you, when it comes out looking like you, we don't have to talk anymore. Just please, God, tell me you're not going to say anything. I'll never speak to you again." McCommon's attorney, Jerry Mason, said that there's limited proof that the woman in the phone conversation is his client. You have to go off what is the actual proof. There was no witness that was presented as a victim or anyone like that to testify this was her, Mason said. Mason said police also didn't give the phone or registration of the number to find where the threatening text came from either. Obviously, this is going to be a trying issue for victims and everybody involved, families, Mason said. It's also a trying issue for the defendant. She's under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Mccommon's next court date is November 27th. One moment, please. Thank you for joining me. You're now listening to the Vault XL. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats, and welcome to the live stream. Let's chop up what was said during this commentary here by WSOC Charlotte. A woman is calling a child, threatening him, telling him not to say anything, telling him that she's pregnant, telling him that when the child comes out looking like him, he doesn't have to say anything. What is the point of that? Alissa, you had to have known that he would tell his parents that you have made contact with him, and yet you called anyway. Why? The first question many are going to ask is, why in the hell are you attracted to babies? Because to me, he's still a baby because he's underage. So why are you attracted to a boy child? This incident allegedly took place in 2021. It is now 23, 2 years. So he's 14, assumedly, but then I believe they gave another age of 16. I'm not really sure. In the end, it doesn't matter. He's underage. You have 2 girl children yourself. So I'm going to ask the question again. Why are you messing with children? Why were you reaching out to children? Where were you having sexual relations with this child? Why didn't you use birth control? Are you currently married? Were you married at the time when you had the boy in your house and was having relations with him? Why have you been sending pictures to other boys? What the hell is your problem? You're too old for this nonsense. You're walking in court looking like you're delusional, don't know where you're at, you're frazzled. Perhaps you do have the mind of a child, but you know how to read and write and do arithmetic, which got you a degree in teaching. Checkmate. But we have learned about people who are scholastically inclined. They don't have common sense. And that has been said about a many and multitude of people who have degrees. They know how to add, subtract, do scientific notations, but they don't know what color light to cross the street on. You are that person. You don't have any common damn sense. I don't know why you would fetch in behind a child when you have 2 children, which means you know how to procreate, you know how to have sex with a grown man. So why are you seeking that same type of relationship with a child? Please explain to the queen, because I'm utterly confused. Thousands of men out here, most of them ain't hitting on nothing any damn way. Why you couldn't find solace in a grown man? Get sex anywhere. Once again, why not find it in a grown man? You have shamed yourself, your children, and your husband. And it doesn't really matter what type of relationship you have with your husband. It's principle. This is a child. These are 2 different arenas. You're somebody's mother. How in the world can you explain to your children what you have done? You've shamed your children. They have to be able to walk around, lady. Your husband, same thing. And you're sitting here pleading with the child. Do you hear yourself? Don't say anything, blah, blah, blah. And as for the lawyer, oh, Queen's got some nice words for you. They can't prove anything. As I commented on the Newsbreak app, I wrote a lengthy paragraph about this. How in the hell can you walk in a courtroom and tell the court and the judge mainly that they don't have any proof to state when it is her voice on the phone because she's not using her phone number? Duh, why would she do that? She foolishly went and got a burner phone, which couldn't be tracked, of course, to call the victim, which she knew she was not supposed to do. No contact with the victim, but because she's so jacked up and sick and allegedly pregnant, I do hope she's making this up. But then one would say, why would she do that? She's scared, she's this, she should be scared. That is your client talking to him. Because she used a code that only she used with the victim. Did you forget about that part, attorney? Obviously, you're not paying attention to the story. That's why she made the comment on the recording. I don't know if this is even you. Exactly. Who else would it be, sir? Asking a child if he's who he's supposed to be. I'm scared, I'm pregnant. When the baby comes out, I won't say anything else to you. I won't call again. Please don't say anything. What random stranger would be calling a child with this type of conversation? I'll wait. And it just so happened to happen right after she has been let out of jail from the charge of rape. And yet you will go into an open courtroom and say to the judge, you can't prove that it's my client. The number hasn't been verified. Wow. Really? Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. I get it. It is your job to bring reasonable doubt. That is the job of the defense attorney. But you have lost this battle here, sir. So now we have to ask the ultimate question. Is Alissa pregnant by a child? Jesus, help me. I don't even understand what she's saying to the boy. When he comes out, or the child comes out looking like you, then you don't have to say anything. Lady, do you hear what the hell you're saying? Then that's going to be proof you had sex with the child. Are you this crazy? That's proof you had sex if they take the DNA, which you know they will. And where are you going to be having a baby at exactly? You forgot. You're in jail now and your bond has been revoked. So if indeed you are pregnant, Miss Lady, you will be having your baby inside of a county jail until trial. And you don't have no notion of when a trial will commence unless you decide to take a plea, if the state will even offer you one. And as I asked before, where was his parents while he was sleeping at this woman's house in her bed? If I'm to assume he had sexual relations with her in a bed. Where were her children? Where was her husband? Did she have a husband while she had this boy at her house? How many other boys have been at her house? Has she met children out in other places to have sexual relations? How many more children are we speaking of? Because I believe, or let's just say authorities believe, there are more children who have been violated by Miss Mccommon. You see, it's disgusting to know that a man seeks relations with a child, but a woman and a boy child, that's just, to some, would be considered unheard of. But either way, it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's a grown man and a girl, a grown woman and a boy. They're both foul behavior. And I would suspect that possibly you did not have a good childhood. You are docile in behavior, possibly a bit mild-mannered. little bit easygoing, but you don't have common sense as an adult should have. So now I have to ask, what is your actual IQ? Because you knew when you started reaching out to these children that what you was doing was wrong. At any point, you could have stopped yourself, but you did not. And now you're talking about carrying a whole damn baby inside of your tummy, which would be proof you had relations with a boy child once they extract DNA from the infant. So I hope for your sake you're not pregnant. Because then that child has to now walk around once they become aware of their faculties, who they are and who their parents are. Oh, my daddy was a 12-year-old. Imagine that. And my mommy was almost what? 40 years old. You're old enough to be this boy's parent. Why? Just tell us why. Why would you seek out a child? I don't understand. What could you possibly see in a 12-year-old? I see children all the time. I said this before in my last live pertaining to this subject matter. I see children all the time, 12-year-olds. I don't see anything but a child. I ain't looking at him in that way. I don't care if I look at him and say to myself, oh, he's a cute little boy. He's a handsome little boy. That's as far as it would go. What in God's name would possess me to want to look at a boy in that way? Video games. You're a little bit clever. I will give it to you. You knew what would get to a boy child. What did you say to them once you reached out to them? Hi, this is Mrs. Such and Such. How are you? Hope everything's going well. And then what else did you say? If you're not busy, would you like to play a game with such and such? I'm curious. And then one thing begat another, did it not? Now we're talking on the phone, we're playing video games. Then somehow it turns to sex talk. Then we're sending naked pictures to children. And then it's, can I come pick you up? Wow. And then you got the nerve to walk in court last week as if you are delusional to where you are walking in court, looking around like a damn duck out of water. But as somebody said, that's probably an act. Well, I'll say it's probably an act. And your attorney sitting here talking about you're stressed out. Well, Wally, I guess she is. But she did this to herself. So to say she's stressed out, is that supposed to make us feel some type of empathy for her? She's stressed out. This is stress she did to herself because she had no business seeking out little boys for sexual needs. He's a child. They're children. They're not adults. They could have been just as fascinated with a grown woman liking, being attracted to them because they are still human beings, little human beings, but it is gross and it's nasty. And nobody cares about what the hell is going on with your client. How she feels, I could care less. The only people I'm concerned with are the victims, her own children, and God forbid if she is carrying a child in her stomach. Because somebody has to, down the road, explain to that child who his or her mother is and who the damn father is. And that would be one hell of a conversation. How long has she been grooming little boys, Miss Mccommon? Was she sexually assaulted as a child? Because usually this comes from childhood trauma, this behavior. Pedophiles are usually molested as children. So was she molested as a child? If so, what age? Who was the offender? When did she start messing with little boys? Why is she attracted to little boys? Has she had any other allegations against her by any other school district or any other children, parents, whatsoever? Because they do believe there are other children. And she did work at another school district or another school, I believe, in that town. What a mess. 1 second, please. We're going to go over to Law and Crime Network and see what these analysts, commentators have to say about this very diabolical situation coming out of Covington, Tennessee, pertaining to a teacher who has her bond revoked by contacting and coercion and harassing her victim. She also claims that she is pregnant. What will become of Alissa Mccommon? Very bad, bad story. Very bad lady.
A shocking confession from the Tennessee teacher accused of raping her former student. A phone recording apparently captures her saying she's pregnant with a 12-year-old boy's unborn child.
It's the poor child that she raped, and now this unborn child who's going to be growing up in this really uncertain world where his mother may be in jail, and the child and his father is just this teenager. So who knows what's going to end up coming of that unborn child.
Attorney and trial consultant Dina Saib-Dahl tells Law and Crime Network the case is seemingly stacked against 38-year-old Alissa Mccommon.
It even sounds like they have nude pictures of her, which that in itself, there's absolutely no reason that a teacher would be sending nude pictures to their child. So right there, the case is very strong. And then if you do have these other text messages that you can show as her, again, the voicemail, which is very damaging against her, if they can also show that is her, plus the testimony from the children themselves. I do think they have a very strong case here.
Law and Crime Network first covered Mccommon's case back in September when she was arrested in Covington, Tennessee, about an hour northeast of Memphis. Officials had been tipped off in late August about a potential sexual assault case. Investigators said Mccommon began speaking to former students through video games, but that quickly escalated to conversations via social media apps and ultimately the sending of explicit photos. Prosecutors say she raped one of her former students, a 12-year-old boy, in her own home. Multiple other students have since come forward with similar accusations. At the time, Mccommon was released on $25,000 bond, but just last week she was arrested again, this time for sending threatening messages to the 12-year-old victim.
Anytime you have a sexual abuse of a child, it's a serious allegation where an individual is facing potential jail time, potential registration as a sex offender for arguably the rest of their lives. Now you add to it the fact that after they're arrested, after they know that they're caught, they proceed to reach out to the victim and victimize them yet again. I think any judge, any prosecutor is going to view whatever sentence and kind of raise the bar in terms of how serious this case is.
After news of that arrest broke, we spoke with Law and Crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman, who said Mccommon was in direct violation of her bond.
When an individual is released on bond, they are specifically told they're to have absolutely no contact whatsoever with the victims or potential witnesses in the case. So it is a little unexpected that quite a short time after she's released, she decides that it's a good idea to reach out again to one of her 12-year-old victims and threaten them in terms of them going forward with this case.
But it was during a court hearing on Tuesday that even more shocking news was revealed.
I will never text you again. You will never hear from me again. Just please don't say anything. I'm under so much stress and I'm so scared.
Prosecutors played the recording, arguing it's Mccommon's voice admitting to the rape by saying the 12-year-old victim fathered her child.
I'm trying to tell you right now, I'm not like you. We don't have to talk anymore. Just please promise me you're not going to say anything. I'll never speak to you again.
Mccommon allegedly said she plans to raise the child.
I'll raise this baby and I love this baby. I'm not going to let myself.
This story just gets worse and worse, definitely for her, and from the standpoint of like, if these allegations are true, kind of the trauma that she caused this child that she raped and now is pregnant by.
After her second arrest, Mccommon was charged with coercion of a witness, aggravated stalking, and harassment.
But this is really an extension of the harassment, and you saw some of that coercive power that she used, I'm sure, in order to even rape the child to begin with. And this continuation, just holding this kind of power over him, thinking that he still wanted to see her, still wanted to talk to her. Her threat is that I'm never going to talk to you again, assuming that's even still what he wants. She's either delusional or she really holds this kind of power, which she did, right? I mean, she was in a power position that she hugely abused, in order to rape this child. And sadly, she's continuing to use that to abuse the child further with all these threats she's making in a phone call.
But Seidel says it's still possible Mccommon isn't really pregnant.
Exactly.
Is it possible that maybe she said she was pregnant as a way of trying to coerce the victim to not talk? Because that sounded like what she was trying to do in that voice note. Or what, is she actually pregnant? And then this recordings just got better.
Sorry about that, everybody. Could it be that she is lying? Because you got to remember, she's already sick and ill. So you can't even judge why anybody does anything when she's already committed the worst of atrocities by touching a child inappropriately. So could she be saying, well, if I tell him I'm pregnant, he'll have sympathy, empathy for me, and he wouldn't want the mother of his child to go to jail. But in the end, it's not up to the child to make that decision. It's up to the judicial process to go forward because she has committed a crime. He has no bearings on what should happen to her because he is a minor child.
Pregnant, and then this trauma now involves like a second victim, this unborn child. That, will remain to be seen, I think.
But if she is pregnant, Seidel says that's not really relevant to Mccommon's rape charge.
I cannot see how her being pregnant necessarily is relevant at trial. That would be why anybody would have to be forced to give up like DNA, let's say, like a swab of a DNA, if it's relevant for identification purposes, as part of your charges, as part of the trial. But whether or not she's actually pregnant is really irrelevant in terms of whether or not she raped this child. And so I don't think her being pregnant is something that they would be able to compel, but they will certainly be able to use her voicemail where she says she's pregnant at trial. And I guess at that point, if she wants to rebut it for any reason, she could put forth evidence saying that she is pregnant or isn't pregnant. But my guess is they'll just use the voicemail, and whether or not she actually is or isn't, will just be kind of time will tell.
And a paternity test likely won't be court ordered.
No, I don't think at that point a paternity test would just be made in order to, if the victim's family wants to know whether or not he's indeed the father of that child. And I imagine, especially if she's convicted and in jail, they may want some sort of, legal custody over that child. I mean,
She took the words right out of my mouth. Imagine that she is pregnant. She's incarcerated at the time that the baby is born, either in jail or prison, whichever comes first, as far as trial. And his parents want the child. Just imagine what the hell I just said. The parents want the child. Imagine the parents say, well, we want the baby. We want to raise the kid. We want to raise this kid with our kid. Shut up, Angela. Dear God, this is ridiculous. But anything is possible because this is true crime. I hope, as I said, that there is no baby, that this lady is just trying to get this kid to be quiet, but it's too late now. He already went forward to tell what happened. And I'm still curious to why he waited so long to say something about this teacher. Is it possible that his parents found out something, questioned him, he got scared, he decided to tell the truth that he had been having relations with his teacher? Why are we just now hearing about this story in 2023 when allegedly the allegation happened in 2021? You're talking about 2 years. So why are we just now hearing about inappropriate sex, touching, whatever, grooming between she and this child? Now other children have come forward, multiple children. What is multiple? 6, 7, 8, what are we talking about? Are they her students or are they kids at the schoolhouse? Kids in the community? Kids in another jurisdiction? All of the above. What do we say? This ain't good.
Custody over that child. I mean, that's open for question, but it really then becomes kind of more of a custody issue. Whether or not she raped him, that is her charge, is rape. Again, it's irrelevant whether or not that crime results in a pregnancy. Really, at that point, it becomes the child who's going to raise the child. It's really horrible because, again, if this really happened, what it seems like it has, there are multiple victims, the poor child that she raped, and now this unborn child who's...
And let me iterate right here. I bet her husband isn't going to want to raise that kid. Stay woke. Because now we have to worry about the other 2 children that belong to she and her husband or mate or whomever. Who's going to raise those children? Because she can't do anything now. She's incarcerated, bail revoked, bond revoked, and now allegations of a pregnancy. Don't know if it's true or not. You know damn well this man isn't going to want to take in those kids, this baby, if she is pregnant. Hell no. Not getting ready to raise a child's child. My adversary, who's a child. And imagine what he's going through. See, you can weigh this story 1,000 ways. The questions are endless. How do the family members feel? How do her children feel? Neighbors feel? How does her husband feel? My wife's been having sex with a child. Now imagine nighttime jokes on Saturday Night Live in places which would be very inappropriate, of course. But just imagine the jokes. This man can't even satisfy his wife. She's got to go pick up a kid. That's not good. That's not good at all. Because there are too many men she could have taken up with. Her preference are children. And that's a problem. That's a very big problem.
There are multiple victims, the poor child that she raped, and now this unborn child who's going to be growing up in this really uncertain world where his mother may be in jail and the child and his father is just this teenager. So who knows what's going to end up coming of that unborn child.
But Seidel says it's possible the recording isn't even of Mccommon.
That is one of the things her lawyer is saying, is that she didn't leave the voicemail. That you just have this woman's voice on there and you can't prove it's her. She doesn't say that it's her on the voicemail. And so that's definitely going to be a point that they will bring up in terms of what.
Well, let me say, for the last audio that I played, they say she did identify herself in the texting and or the phone call to the boy. Now, this network is saying she didn't identify herself, but the other content I brought you said that she did identify herself. Because what you have to ask yourself is, why is she saying to the person on the phone, I don't know if this is even you or not? So why would a woman be calling the child? I don't think anyone in the court said this sounds like a child calling a child. This doesn't sound like a prank call to a child. So why would someone be calling this child? She would have more to gain by calling the child than a complete stranger or even another deranged person wanting to play pranks on a boy child? And let's go there. If we're to believe it's a prank by a random person, how would they have gotten his phone number? Bingo card. Was she calling a landline phone or a cell phone? See, you have to always pay attention to the details. That's why I love when attorneys come out speaking for their clients that they don't know a damn thing about and try to covet for them and make up all these wild stories. Oh, it ain't him, it ain't her, they didn't do it. When you have to use deduction and the obvious. How would a stranger get a boy child's telephone number? I'll wait. Yes, it's news around town, but how would a stranger, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Defense Attorney, how would a stranger get a boy child's telephone number? Please enlighten us. Oh, you're going to tell us they searched and called got on one of those little apps where you pay a little fee to get people's personal information and their address. Okay. It's her.
On the voicemail, and so that's definitely going to be a point that they will bring up in terms of whether or not this is admissible against her, to begin with, because if you can't say it's her, it certainly wouldn't be admissible against her. But what the prosecution is saying, and really investigators are saying, is that she always used like a code word in her communication with the victim to identify that this was her. She would do the code word and then she would send nude pictures of herself. And that the same code word was used before she left this voicemail, kind of threatening him and talking about being pregnant. And so they're saying this is why they think it was her that left the voicemail, as well as the fact that this was one of the phone numbers that she evidently used in communicating with some of the other.
And what you have to also ask yourself is the obvious. Why would the phone call be recorded? He's already made allegations against the lady. She's been arrested and then bonded out. So 9 times out of 10, this is the lady that called him. As it's been said, she's used code words, so on and so forth. And she's asking, I don't know if this is you or not, blah, blah, blah. What stranger would be talking like that to a child? For what reason? They don't know him from a can of paint. And how would they have gotten her number? Once again, same number used. So then you want to say, oh, well, we can't prove it's her number. It ain't her number. This is BS.
Some evidence that it is her, but does it rise to the level of making it, verifiable enough, let's say, for a judge to actually admit it against her in a criminal trial? I think it's a little bit unclear at this point. You would really have to see all of the evidence that they're showing.
Investigators say before her initial arrest, Mccommon used a code word to confirm the 12-year-old victim was alone. Upon her second arrest, they say the same code word was mentioned during her exchanges, including a message suggesting the boy would regret going to the authorities. Seidel says that code word could play a part in whether the phone recording is allowed in court.
Maybe somebody else knew this code word and could have used this code word as a way to, make it strengthen the case against.
Why would a woman give the code word to another female to call him? Think about what you're saying now. He's brought forward an allegation against a school teacher, this female, her government name mentioned, all of that. This makes no sense that a random person would get a hold of his number and call him from the same number, same code word used and engage in conversation. Then the phone call is recorded. So why would he be recording it? He would be recording it because it's to show evidence that she is this person who he just brought forward an allegation against. Come on now. Now, whether it be allowed in court down the road, such as a grand jury indictment, if it goes that far, I don't know. But for right now, it looks like a duck. It sounds like a duck. That's what it sounds like to me. Because you got to explain why somebody would be reaching out to a child playing these reindeer games on his phone about don't tell. So let's go there then if it's a random person. Don't tell what exactly? How would a random stranger, a woman, get his number Why would she be telling him not to tell? Why would she be talking about she's stressed out? She don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. She's pregnant. Why would a random stranger be calling this guy using same number and code word to say this to a boy child? Ask yourself that. Because that's what you're going to have to prove in a court of law. It's not her. It's not her voice. She doesn't have access to that number. That's not her code word. Nothing is tied to her, period, pertaining to the conversation or the phone number. I think you're going to have a hard time proving that, sir. I really, really do.
Make it strengthen the case against her. Let's say, a relative of the victim, certainly her defense lawyer is going to say people had access to this code word. Somebody else used it and is kind of framing her. And I actually think that it will be hard for the prosecution to overcome that at this point from what we know so far. So I think there's a question of whether or not that voicemail will be admissible in the end of the day.
On top of that, voice experts could be brought in to determine whose voice is speaking.
I think that they will certainly do voice experts, let's say, or voice technology. They might also do location data, as we know. Can they tell where this phone call was originated from? Was it in a similar place? Was it her home, let's say, or similar places other phone calls were originated from? And we've seen lots of trials where the technology from cell phones is vast and is often used against the defense. So we are really early on in terms of kind of what the prosecution can do to authenticate this call. Not that they can't, but there is a hurdle they're going to have to get over in order to be able to admit this in court.
And it's still possible more charges are yet to come.
It's possible because it sounds like they're continuing to investigate whether or not she did this to other children. They say that she had inappropriate relationships with other children. Is it possible that maybe these other children just haven't told their full story and she has in fact raped more than one of them? They're even still asking for parents to see whether or not their children had calls from unknown numbers that they don't recognize, thinking that it could be her. So I do think that it's possible that further charges may come. Unfortunately, as we see, people who abuse children tend not to do it just the one time.
Of course.
So it is likely that there will be other victims out there who may come forward.
As for what's next, Side Doll says that's still up in the air.
It really depends whether or not she is willing to waive her right to a speedy trial or not. And that's unclear. The fact that she had her bond revoked and she's going to be in jail until trial, she may waive it, and we may see this case moving forward rather quickly.
After her initial arrest, Mccommon was suspended without pay from her school district. Right now, she's being held without bond at the Tipton County Jail. She's due back in court on November 27th. Long Crime Network reached out to her attorney for a comment on this story, but have not heard back. Reporting for Long Crime Network.
All right, Long Crime Network. I'm going to play you content from a story I found while looking for this story. This was 5 years ago. KPRC2 Click Houston is the source. Very diabolical information that you're about to hear. After this audio plays, I will continue to give you my commentary on the information.
In a case that shocked the country, the teacher impregnated by her 8th grade student will face a judge for the first time this morning. Our Sophia Ojeda is live downtown with the latest and some pretty serious charges against her, Sophia.
Yeah, good morning, Rachel. She is now facing continuous sexual abuse of a child after she admitted to having a sexual relationship with her 8th grade student.
Prosecutors say 24-year-old Alexandria Vera, a teacher at Stovall Middle School, not only engaged in a sexual relationship with one of her 13-year-old students, the mother of one also got pregnant by the 8th grader. But in court documents, Vera says the student's parents knew about the relationship and they approved of it, allowing the teen to spend the night at Vera's home in Spring, where they would engage in sex on a regular basis. She told an investigator she would drop him off at home in the morning so he could catch the bus to school. The relationship allegedly lasted for 4 months, ending in January with a pregnancy that Vera terminated.
Wow, wow,
She turned
wow.
herself in on Wednesday morning. She's currently out on bond. Again, she now faces 1 count of continuous sexual abuse of a child. She is due here in Harris County Court at 9 o'clock this morning. We'll be here and we'll bring you the latest developments coming up on Channel 2 at 11. Live downtown, Sophia Okia.
This is a story from 5 years ago. Aldine Independent School District middle school teacher Alexandria Vera, accused of having a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old student, is expected to appear in court on Friday. Now, this was 5 years ago. Naturally, she'd be about 29, now 30. Having sex with a 13-year-old. So at that time, she was only about 11 years older than the victim. More or less a big sister than actually being old enough to be his mother. You hear this commentary that the parents approved of the relationship, knew of the relationship. She's picking him up, dropping him off. Are y'all hearing this? This is what's going on in our world. Because a lot of people don't think it's a big deal if it's a woman having sex with an underage boy. They have a problem with it. Even some people don't have a problem with it, even if the boy is only a few years older than a girl. Let's say he's 18 and she's 15. You have people out here who'll say, well, it's not really a big age difference. It doesn't matter. She's still a child. She don't have no business having sex, period. How about that? Even if it's with another 15-year-old boy. Children don't need to be having sex because their minds aren't equipped to deal with the emotions that come along with having sex. Most of us are grown and we still can't deal with what comes with having sex with other adults. Come on now. Stop the foolishness. But this is just a case I wanted to show you that there are women who are out here perpetrating crimes against boy children. And when you look at her, when I first looked at the photograph of her in the video, I said, I thought this was a woman messing with a boy. That's how young she looked at that time. She looked like a kid. Stay woke. She looked like a kid. I think you see where I'm going with this. She looks like a child. 9 times out of 10, she acted like a child. So it wouldn't be hard for her to be attracted to a child. I think that's what's going on here with Miss Alissa in Covington, Tennessee. She is childlike in nature, still living the life of a child, missing a childhood, longing to be possibly a child again, not getting what she needs from an adult male, which would be her husband. This is why people do heinous things, because how they're treated. Number one, how they were treated as children, how they lived as children, how they've navigated in the world as adults. Some people have never grown up. And that's what I believe you will find with this girl in this story that I just brought you from 5 years ago, and the same thing with Miss Alissa Mccommon. They have never grown up. They still identify as being a child. And you really haven't matured enough at 24 to even be classified as an adult. The law says you're grown, but it doesn't mean that your mind is grown. Now, fast forward. This lady here in Tennessee, 36, she's probably no different mindset than that 24-year-old girl who was sexually involved with a 13-year-old boy. They haven't grown up. And they possibly didn't have a fruitful childhood or adolescence, because you've heard a lot of that with people who become pedophiles, mainly men. Didn't have a great upbringing, didn't have a great adolescence, mistreated, abused, mentally, physically, sexually, verbally. So they grow up, their bodies are as of an adult, but their mind is still childlike, immature. No excuse, of course, but many experts will tell you pedophiles usually were molested as children. So was Alissa Mccommon molested as a child? As I said before, what is her IQ level? How many more children are we going to hear about? Multiple have come forward. So now you got to ask this. Did they come forward on their own, or somebody went looking for the children who had contact with Miss Mccommon? Did she send naked photos to the boys? Did she meet with them, have sex, full sex, oral sex? What was she doing with them? No need to be descriptive, but they're going to be asked that if they haven't been already. What did she do to you? Because I believe this one victim, he woke up and she was doing things to him, if you get my drift. This is bad, bad, bad. All the way bad. What should the punishment be for Miss Alissa Mccommon? 7 years, 8 years, 17-year probation, registered as a sexual offender on the registry, have to register, 15 years in prison, 20 years in prison, life in prison. What should the punishment be? Will we find out that she's exacted this behavior with the other children? Because if we get wind that there are more children, the state can prove that she messed with these children inappropriately. 9 times out of 10, she will get a lengthy sentence unless she takes a plea. If the state decides to offer up a plea, will she take a plea? Is she pregnant, actually pregnant? What will happen to the child if she is indeed pregnant? Because she's not getting out of jail now. She messed that up for herself last week by contacting the boy child. Why contact him knowing he has brought an allegation against you, Alissa Mccommon? What the hell is wrong with you? How did you end up in this situation? And I'm sure she's asked herself that. How did I end up seeking out boy children? So then you have to go back in life and ask yourself what she was doing when she was an adolescent. Stay woke. Because this behavior does not just pop up at 36, 34 years of age. You don't wake up at 34 touching little boys, performing sexual relations with children. You possibly been doing that. That's why they made the comment about, the lady made the comment in this audio about other children. You've been doing this. And you possibly were doing it even when you were a child yourself. I won't doubt she had inappropriate relations with children as a child, adolescent, and teenager. And it never stopped. And she continued it even as an adult and possibly have always been attracted to children because she's been messing with children as a child. And I won't doubt that's what we're going to find out later down the road. I will put up a poll, and I guess I'll do it now while I'm sitting here. The link is in the chat if you'd like to join the Queen to give your commentary. I'd like to hear from some people to give their opinion on the panel, to give me your weigh in on what you think about this lady, what the punishment should be. We can't really think of a punishment at this moment because we don't know if there are more children, because naturally they're going to give her a punishment suitable to the crime itself and what she actually did with the child and what they can prove she did with child one. Other children come along, well, naturally it will ante up more time incarcerated. Say what? Insanity while becoming a teacher. I don't understand what you're saying. Thank you, Ashley, for the donation. God bless you. It's a very sick situation here. And sadly, she won't be the last. That's the point of all these cases you hear of sick, whack people. Won't be the last. won't be the last. It's hard to fathom anyone desiring a child, being attracted to a child, physically attracted to a child. And our children, we have some beautiful children out here, gorgeous, but you're not supposed to view them in that manner, in a sexual manner. You've crossed the line. But as we have learned, a lot of people who crossed the line were abused as children. And somehow they cannot deviate from that behavior. It usually follows them into adulthood. And you've heard this with many sadists, rapists, murderers, serial killers. And this woman is probably no different. So that's why I'm asking the question, was she a victim of inappropriate behavior with an adult and or children as a child? What will her husband have to say? Is she currently married? Because you hear her saying that in the commentary to the child, I will raise this child by myself. So that leads me to believe she is not with husband. Why not? Where's the husband? Who's going to be taking care of their children? Her 2 children. She has 2 girl children. I've seen pictures of her and 2 children. They've got their faces covered. Who will be raising her children? Who are raising the children now? Nice house, it looks like. Nice Georgian-style house that she was led out of in handcuffs. Voice expert. Will the state hire a voice expert to verify the voice on the recording? Was the phone confiscated by a search warrant of her house and personal effects to verify that she used that phone, had access to that phone, and is the one that called the young boy again? CCTV footage in any stores where she shopped. Have they gone out in the community to try to see where she had shopped, bought a phone? Online purchases, searched her databases, cell phone, iPads, computers to see if she has ordered a burner phone, alternate phone. How many phones does she have? Did she have before the first arrest and the second arrest? Has she been longing to be a child again? Is this how she was led down into the abyss? She never had a great childhood. She's longed to be a child. She's missed her childhood. She missed being a kid. The things that come with being a child is attention, gifts, youthfulness. Because you hear a lot of people talk about their life where they miss being a child, miss not having any responsibilities, miss all the fun they had, staying up late, eating candy, having fun with their friends, talking on the phone late night, going to football games, soccer games, basketball games, being chased by the boys, vice versa. They miss that life. Is that possibly what has happened to Miss Alissa? She may have had a great life, popular in school, belle of the ball, but the party stopped at adulthood. Because a lot of people do miss being a child. You'll hear some people tell you, wish I could be a child again. Being youthful, pretty, handsome, getting attention from others, being taken care of, didn't have to worry about bills, obligations, being hurt by people, betrayed by people. But see, it also depends on what type of childhood you had, because everybody didn't have a great childhood. So some can't spin the web of, I wish I could go back. Some people didn't have a good childhood to want to go back to. What is her backstory? Who is Alissa Mccommon? What will we find out about her past as a child, her parents, brothers and sisters. Any allegations of child abuse as a child, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse from neighbors, friends, family members against Miss Alissa Mccommon. Is she a male offender, a female offender on males only? Dual offender? Because we have seen offenders who like boys and girls with grown men. And how long has this been going on? Because I got a feeling it's been going on a long time. She just finally got caught. And she had to have known that one of these boys would, as they say in the street, kiss and tell. Because I'm curious to why allegations are just now coming out now, 2 years later. Did it just seep out by accident? The boy had no intention of ever telling anyone, but he was found out. Maybe somebody went through his phone, parents. And this notion that that's not her on the phone by her attorney. Somebody else got a hold of the code word, this number, and called the victim, possibly his own family members, family friends trying to get retribution, get her into more trouble. Is that true? Is this a act of revenge against Miss Mccommon by the family? Or some wacko sicko out there got a hold of the little boy's number? I don't think so. Naturally, there's always that possibility. But for now, I'm not going to weigh in that this is an outsider that reached out to the boy child, because there's verification that it's the same code word used and also the same number. And you don't know how many phones she had, because when you're doing wrong, you will tend to get another phone to exact your deviant behavior upon. So I believe it's her, because the person sounds awfully scared in the phone conversation. And if this is a random person, I must admit they need to quit their damn day job and take up acting. That's my commentary. Alissa Mccommon from Covington, Tennessee, was a school teacher, now suspended without pay. Very interesting. Because a lot of times people still get paid even after they have been accused of nefarious behavior, such as police officers, after they've beat someone to sleep, shot somebody, become investigated for cruel punishment, excessive force, they still get paid. But this lady, now, obviously from her reaching out to the victim, is what got her suspended without pay. But when I brought you commentary a week or so ago, she was still getting paid while out on bond. And as you also heard in this commentary, why take the risk of reaching out to the boy? You couldn't even wait a month, 2, 3 before reaching out. Don't do it. Don't do it, please. Don't say anything. Don't say what, as I just said. What random person would be saying this to a child? Don't say anything, please. I'm stressed. I'm this, I'm that. I'm worried. Oh, if the baby comes, I'm looking like you. I won't say anything. Sounds awfully convincing to me, that it's her. Doesn't sound, I don't think this is a random person calling. Because first they've got to be able to get the code word and call from the same number. And yes, we have some crafty, sicko, wacko people, yes, that know how to maneuver those numbers and dummy the numbers and make it seem like it's a certain person calling, stalking a person or whatever. But I don't think so in this case. Prove me wrong. What will happen to this lady's life? Her children. She has no regard for children, not even her own. That shows you how sick she really is. She couldn't just go out here and philander around with a grown-ass man. She could have found a 20-year-old to play footsies with. 18-year-old boy, she couldn't even do that. Nah, I need them younger than that. Children have to be able to walk around, go to school. Small town. She didn't even care about her own damn kids. That they've got to now face scrutiny of their mother being a child molester. Can you imagine that? Living in a small town, going to school with kids, and we know how cruel children are. But you didn't think about that, did you, Miss Mccommon? What is going to befall your children? The life now that you have thrown them into. That what was a good life a month and a half or so ago now is neither. They've got to walk around knowing their mother likes little boys. And that she couldn't stay away from the little boy. She just had to call even after making bond. And the husband, what is he feeling? Competing with a man is one thing, but a child? Imagine that. Because you know people are going to talk and whisper and gossip. My goodness. His wife likes little boys. What in the hell is going on in that house? Indeed. What was going on in the Mccommon house? Because people are going to ask. And I won't doubt we're going to hear way more than just she likes little boys. Oh, you can bet your bottom dollar on that. There's going to be all kind of talk. People are going to start talking about how he treated his wife, if he mistreated her, neglected her, had affairs. This is possibly why she sought the comfort of a child, because children are easy to talk to sometimes. They're inquisitive. They believe anything they hear. Who better to talk to about your jacked up life? Stay woke now. You go into work looking crazy, hair disheveled. What's wrong, Mrs. Mccommon? You don't look well today. Oh, it's nothing. Just not feeling well. Well, I hope you get to feeling better. And God forbid the child decided to hug her, comfort her. Imagine that. There's something very wrong with her. There's been something wrong. Now, one could say, now, Angela, we don't know everything. She could have had a great life, great childhood, great marriage, great kids, financially secure, no debts, no problems, no alcohol, no drug abuse. She just got tangled up. The little boy said something to her and she fell for him. Imagine that. So let's go there then. She's got a great life, everything's Gucci. But a little boy said something to her that tickled her fancy on a phone call or a video transaction. And then one thing begat another. Is that how it went, Alissa? A little boy said something that was so sweet and enduring that you wanted to continue talking and playing video games. But how would it lead to you sending him naked pictures? I'll wait. Oh, Miss Mccommon, you're so nice. You're so sweet. Thanks for talking to me and playing a game. Oh, you're welcome, Johnny. Hold on a second. I'll send you something. Gets a naked picture of a grown-ass woman. Well, my. And he's a boy. Couldn't judge him if he ogled the picture. He's a boy. And he obviously kept it a secret. Because by now, don't you think allegations would have come forward had he told 2 years ago? But then we've learned, such as this case with this woman out of Texas, they knew she was messing with their boy child and they condoned it. Dear God, please don't tell us they knew all along. Because then people will really be raising hell if we find out mommy and daddy knew all along that something nefarious was going on between the teacher and the 12-year-old. Because you still have to ask that one question. Why are we just now hearing about an allegation of improprieties with the child 2 years later? Stay woke now. Will we find out that somebody knew all along? And just decided to up and say something? And then somebody's going to say, well, why did you wait this long? So, Alissa, have you been told why all of a sudden the secret is out? Because I'm curious now. I think a lot of people are curious. How did the secret get out? And why did it take 2 years for it to get out? And another thing that nobody's saying in the chat, drum roll, why didn't any of the other boys say anything? Bingo card. See, I pay attention to everything that's being said and what is not being said. And that's where some of you should be concerned with this story. It's what has not been told. And why are we hearing of an allegation 2 years later and now multiple boys coming forward to say, oh yeah, she touched me too? Because boys gossip like little girls. And why hasn't anyone said anything to another teacher, somebody about this lady touching them? And yes, we have heard countless of stories where children do not tell that they have been touched. It is normal for children not to confide in an adult or another child. But usually somebody would say something. How many victims are we speaking of? Will they prove that she is the person on the audio speaking to the child and begging for him not to say anything? Threatening him that he would regret telling on her. Same number, same code word. That they find the phone that matches the number called to his phone. Will a voice analyst say that, yes, indeed, this is a match? Same lady, same content. And what will happen to her? What will happen to the children? Because you see, one thing begets another. A grown woman touching a little boy can lead him also into the abyss. He will start to be fascinated with older women, which nothing wrong with that, but it would only be helpful if indeed he is actually an adult himself, not a child. Because touching children leads to problems. This is why we have pedophiles, because they never get help. So the cycle never stops. It's just people hurting people, generation after generation. And we've learned the worst case scenario of pedophilia, which can lead to homicide. So as the child doesn't talk, repeat, and have to testify against me. Lord have mercy. When I get more information pertaining to this story, I will bring you an update. The court date, I believe, is in November, into November. And we will see what happens. She won't have access to be able to contact he or any other victims. And hopefully there will be no more phone calls to this young boy or any other boys. She has sunk at an all-time low because there is no viable reason to be attracted to a child. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be in the company of a child. You like being around children, taking care of children, teaching children, mentoring children, but that's as far as it should go. There should be no inappropriate touching, groping, or sexual misdeeds with a child. And if you even have those thoughts, you need to seek help immediately. Check yourself in somewhere. Because you're tainting what is supposed to be sacred. A child has a right to live. And when you touch a child, you have now violated him or her, and you have changed the dynamic of his or her lifestyle, thought process. And Dr. Phil has talked about this before. This is why children have problems growing up, you see, because you have violated them. And now you're putting impure thoughts into their heads to where they now want to do those things that you've done to them. Because you mimic what you see. You mimic what has been taught to you and done to you. This is why we have pedophiles. So what could start off as a great life for a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, he's now thinking about things he shouldn't be thinking about. All because of you. You've now put nasty thoughts, adult thoughts into the mind of a child when he or she shouldn't be thinking about sex, doing unsavory things with another child or an adult. This is why young girls have sex early in life, because they've been having sex. They've been touched inappropriately. That should be no surprise to anyone. Same thing with a boy. It's all the same. You're mimicking what you've already been doing. And then people get mad when they hear, well, she's having sex with a boy and she's doing this with a boy. And, well, maybe you should ask her why. You may not like the answer. You have to be in tune to your children. You need to know what they're doing. And you cannot watch them all of the time, because it wouldn't be humane to have a child sitting up under you 24 hours a day. You have to be able to live, eat, work. Children have to navigate, such as an adult. But you need to be aware and you need to ask questions. And sadly, for some, you need to be talking to your children about inappropriate touching, child to child, adult to child. You need to role play with your child. You need to inform your child that there are people out here who are not mentally well. There's no need in being shamed, because you just may preserve the life of a child if you're honest and say to a child, this is what's out here. These are people. There are people out here who are ill. Anyone ever says anything to you derogatory about your body, tries to touch you, rub on you, run like hell and come tell me. Or if you can't get to me, run to the police department, dial 911. Inform your children. Because a child should never have to learn the hard way. And a child should never feel threatened or scared to talk, to tell you that they have been touched, groped, or assaulted. Prayers for the victims. And prayers for justice. Because I got a feeling there's more to come to this story. And it ain't going to be nice. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign McGanty 129 Cash App stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. Thank you for the donation. God bless all of you. Have a safe week. Last week's movie suggestion was Rust Creek, and my weekend suggestion was Sorry Charlie, playing on Tubi. A lot of movies on the Tubi app for you to enjoy. A lot of my suggestions come from Tubi and also LMN and in the YouTube queue. Free for you to watch. You don't have to pay anything. Sadly, there are commercials, but it is what it is. I want to thank you all for following this network, the content, the commentary. Take the polls on my channel. I forgot while I was talking, I was going to put up a poll pertaining to this lady, because I'll probably put up several polls, so I'll need a bit of time to where I can concentrate without being on the live stream. But I will put up a few questions pertaining to this new information. I'm a little late with it. Somebody in the chat on the comment section had said something about her being pregnant, and I thought, dear God, they got to be kidding me. And now I got the information from Law and Crime and another source. But I thank you all for watching this. Oh, Lord, hippie, good grief. See, that's what I'm saying. It's normal for children to touch each other because they're curious. But at some point, it needs to be found out, because this is what leads to where we are today. Children are curious about bodies. They're curious about your body. They'll point to your boobies or your private part if they see you walking by naked, or mommy, what's that? Daddy, what's that? But this is why you have to talk to your children about their bodies. You have to talk to your children about not touching other children. There's nothing wrong with being curious, but you can't be touching other children. You can't be doing any type of deeds with children, unsavory deeds with children or adults. This is why you have to talk to your children. You cannot be afraid to talk to your child, because you don't want your child to ever be curious, and then it leads to touching, because this is how it starts, either by curiosity or the children have been touched by another child or another adult. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Please take the polls on my community page. Like, share, subscribe. Make this content go viral. Give me your opinion on the polls. Poll pertaining to this Alissa Mccommon. What's going to happen to her? How did it come to be that she got herself in this mess? And will she be able to stop? Because many of you remember the story of Laterno, the lady who just could not stop messing with that boy. You see how that turned out. She ended up getting jail time, pregnant by him. And then later on, when he became an adult, he sought her out, or vice versa, and they were together. And then later on in life, she died from cancer, if I'm not mistaken. This ain't what you want. And I hope these parents are fearful and scared, because they should be. And I pray that this lady is not pregnant, because this would be a lot to digest, her carrying a baby in jail and prison. And God forbid these people want the baby. And you definitely wouldn't want to look up years later and hear of a boy child seeking out his perpetrator for a relationship. This is not what you want for your child. And a child should not want this. This is why you don't mess with children, you see, because you mess up their thought process. And you lead them down into the abyss of thinking it's appropriate to be touched, to have sexual relations, when it is not. Talk to your children. You've been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.